When using a camera that is made for content creation, it's best to pair it with a lens that is focused on the same thing. So when Fujifilm UK asked me what lenses I wanted to pair with the XS20 when I was loading it last year, I made the choice of one particular zoom that I felt would be versatile enough, it wouldn't get in the way, it gave me a good f-stop range, and was also not too big. The XS20 is a small camera, so I wanted a reasonably sized lens to go with it as well. It needed to be able to go wide enough so I could film myself, as I am now, and also be versatile enough or flexible enough that I could punch in to get some tighter shots for that cinematic juicy B-roll. And so I went with the 16-55 f2.8. In this video, I'll go over the reasons why I picked this lens and whether or not it was actually the right lens to pick, especially for, someone who's borrowing a camera for a short period of time. Which, by the way, I'll just point out, anyone can borrow a camera from Fujifilm, or actually quite a few camera brands as well, like Lumix, I think Sony as well, maybe Canon too. Search camera brand that you want to loan from, loan program. I think you pay a deposit and then you get to try out their cameras and their lenses and see if it's right for you. And I'd encourage anyone to try this out because it means you can actually play around with the gear that you watch videos about all the time. I'll leave a link in the description below. It's not an affiliate link. They don't do that. I just want it to be helpful, so it's down there for your ease of access if you want to check out the Fujifilm one. A quick disclaimer, Fujifilm has not paid me or anything like that. They are not sponsoring. There's no affiliate codes, okay? I am simply borrowing their gear so I can make some videos about it because I myself am curious about their systems. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Okay, let's get into the specs of this lens and what made me choose it as one of the two lenses that I borrowed along with the camera. So it is a 16-55. That means I have a wide angle and a relatively tight, longer focal length to play with as well. Now, one thing we have to bear in mind is the XS20 is an APS-C camera, okay? The sensor has a 1.5 times crop, which actually means that this 16-55 is closer to a 24-82. Now, funnily enough, this works really well with what I'm already used to. Right now, I'm shooting on the 24-60 from Lumix, and that's one of my favorite lenses. So if anything, we've got an extra 20mm to play with on this lens from Fujifilm, and that's kind of funny. I don't know, but anyway, this 1.5 times crop does also affect the f-stop and makes it look more like an f4 lens rather than an f2.8. But I'll get into more details about this and some side-by-side comparisons later on in the video. Regardless of the crop factor and all of that, I really enjoyed using this lens and getting some POV shots of myself, like, vlogging, those kinds of shots. I'm used to that already because I used the 24-60 on my Lumix S9 when I was filming myself and filming my trip in Japan. So even though it's not as wide as like a full frame 16mm lens, it is still plenty wide to be able to show you and where you are in your shot. I do also really enjoy that the zoom range allows me to punch in quickly and get some nice tighter focal length type shots. This means I can focus on specific things in my scene and just get some really cool B-roll shots. Obviously as well, this applies to photography. If you want to focus on something that is further away, you can, focus in on something in your scene more easily. The build quality of the lens is solid. It's like a mixture of plastic and metal, so I have no complaints. We have an aperture ring to go from 2.8 all the way to automatic. We have the zoom range, of course. We have an aperture ring that can either be clickable or not clickable with the little switch we have on the lens. Very, very handy. All things you kind of expect from like a good lens. So I would see this as a good lens already from like the build quality. It is also weather resistant, so I don't know if that's the same as weather sealed, but I will take it as such. And well, it's actually been kind of sunny of late. Like, it's still freezing cold here in the UK, but it hasn't been raining as much where I am. So I haven't really been able to put that to the test, but I'll take that as a win. Now, one of the points I mentioned was I didn't want the lens to be too big. Considering this is an APS-C camera, it's a smaller camera body, so having a smaller lens would be ideal. Some of you may think, oh, this is way too big. And yeah, it's not tiny, but it's not big either, because this is a full frame zoom lens. And this is a full frame prime lens, albeit a big one. And I don't think this is so bad now. Considering the size of these and how much these ones weigh, This one doesn't weigh that much, and I think that's okay. I think, you know, it'll do. By the way, do you like the desk? It's new, I'm very happy with it. Now, not everything is roses and rainbows. It's time to get into the things that I don't love about this lens, and honestly, it is just the APS-C factor. Now, I need to really hammer in this asterisk here. APS-C cameras are not bad because they're APS-C, okay? They're not bad for those reasons, right? And this lens is not bad because it's an APS-C lens. I have used full frame, APS-C, and micro four thirds cameras across my over a decade of being a filmmaker and photographer. They can all create amazing shots, okay? It's not about the sensor size. Yes, they have different effects and different pros and cons, sure. And if anything, what it comes down to for me now is there are things to bear in mind when you are using sensors that are not full frame sensors. And really, it's just kind of math, right? With an APS-C censored camera, you have to multiply your focal length by 1.5 times. Now, that in my head, I just cannot do. If you're good at math, great for you, okay? This is really easy, and it's probably embarrassing for me, but I don't care. For micro four thirds, it's just 2 times, which is much easier to do. But anyway, now this also affects the f-stop like I mentioned earlier. And this is where it gets kind of both interesting and a bit complex. It affects your f-stop in that you have a 1.5 times timesing of your, what's the right word here? Of your f-stop, which means an f2.8 lens actually looks more like an f4 lens. And I'm going to throw out some comparisons on screen so we can actually put that to the test between an f2.8 APS-C lens and an f4 and an f2.8 full frame lens, just to see what they look like. Now, the cool thing is you still get the exposure benefits of f2.8, which means you're letting in more light to your sensor and exposing a brighter image, which is great. As a filmmaker, the more light we can get into our sensors, the easier it is to just have more control over our shot. And especially for low light videography and nighttime filmmaking and stuff, it just makes it a little bit easier. So even though it looks like an f4 lens, even though the bokeh won't be as blurry and all of that, it still lets in more light. That's a pretty cool thing. And I think that's kind of it for me, is having to bear in mind that everything is 1.5 times what it says on the lens. Every single marking is actually higher than what it says. And you know, I've always wondered why they don't just put it as what it actually is after the multiplication factor. I feel like that would just make things a lot easier because you can't put this on a full frame camera anyway, but that's besides the point. What it actually means to me is that this is not an f2.8 lens. And so if I want an f2.8 lens, I would have to get like an I don't know. And so if I wanted an f2.8 lens, I'd have to get something like, this is probably wrong, but like an f2 or like an f1.8 lens. And then that means it's going to be more expensive or not available in the focal range that I want, or things like that. I picked the 16 to 55 because it sounded like what could be a one and done lens, like the 24 to 60 is from Lumix. I use that lens for wide angle stuff and for telephoto stuff. All of my YouTube videos, I basically shoot on this one lens because it is so darn convenient. This lens has the same focal length, which is great, but it's not actually an f2.8. And whilst that's not the end of the world, I really have to emphasize it's not the end of the freaking world, it's something I want. And so that means this isn't the perfect lens for me. To summarize everything, this is still a great lens. Like, I've genuinely enjoyed my time using this lens. I don't think it's a bad lens. The APS-C factor, that factor aside, the lens is great to use. The shots coming out, I think, are really, really great. Vlogging and filming yourself is so easy to do. The lens weighs very, very little as well. And the camera itself is fairly light too. It's not like a super light camera, but it's not like a 1DX Mark II that you're carrying. It's a very versatile lens. It can get you really nice looking shots. And I feel like that's all we really need out of most of our lenses. So long as it fits into your workflow and the kind of things that you film and photograph, sounds like a good fit to me. But really, I think you guys should try it out for yourself. So honestly, take a look at that Fujifilm loan program in the description below. First link just below that like button, which you may as well headbutt whilst you're down there. And also hit that subscribe button as well, because we are so close to 5,000. And honestly, I'm blown away by the amount of people who've been watching of late. Hi, hello. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Oh, and one more thing before you go, you should definitely check out this video here where I go into more detail about this amazing little camera.